John Candy once confessed that he swallowed a lot of aggression along with a lot of pizzas. This humorous yet telling remark captures a glimpse of the man behind the laughter. Recently, conversations about John Candy have resurfaced, sparked by a new documentary about his life available on Amazon. Suddenly, his name is back in the spotlight. Clips of his performances are being shared once again, interviews are circulating, and fans are revisiting those beloved films from their childhood. Every time this happens, one thing becomes clear. The affection for John Candy has never faded. He wasn't just another comedy star from the 1980s and 1990s. He was something more. John Candy was a figure people felt genuinely close to, a rare quality in Hollywood, cherished by fans and fellow actors alike. Born John Franklin Candy in Toronto on October 31, 1950, Halloween, his entrance into the world was fitting for someone who would spend his life bringing joy and laughter. Halloween, a day of magic, candy, and childhood wonder, is a symbolic backdrop for a man whose warmth touched so many. Yet, despite this joyful association, John's childhood was marked by hardship. His father, Sidney, passed away when John was only 5 years old, a loss that left a deep and lasting impression. Raised in a working-class Catholic household in East York by his mother, John grew up in modest circumstances, where money was scarce and stability was uncertain. Being bigger than most kids and not quite fitting the typical mold made school a difficult place for him. Comedy became his shield, not the biting, cynical kind, but a warm, self-deprecating humor that made people smile instead of cringe. John quickly learned that making people laugh was a way to be accepted. More importantly, he realized that if you were kind while making others laugh, they would never forget you. This philosophy guided him throughout his life. He found a supportive community at McMaster University, and later at Toronto's legendary Second City, a comedy incubator that produced some of Canada's greatest comedic talents. Among contemporaries like Dan Aykroyd, Gilda Radner, Martin Short, Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, and Andrea Martin, John Candy stood out, not because he sought the spotlight, but because he elevated those around him. He wasn't competitive or self-centered. He was generous, often staying late to help others polish their sketches, and always remembering personal details like birthdays. His presence made the room feel lighter and more welcoming. Candy's passion extended beyond comedy. He loved American football and played in high school and college, but a serious knee injury ended any hopes of pursuing the sport professionally. Instead, his career took off with SCTV, a cult hit sketch show that showcased his impressive range. John wasn't limited to a single character. He portrayed dozens, from Johnny LaRue, a sleazy TV personality, to Josh, the poker-playing musician, to Dr. Tongue, the horror host. Each character was distinct, yet infused with the unmistakable warmth that became his trademark. This warmth resonated deeply with audiences, forging a powerful connection that would define his career. Hollywood caught its first real glimpse of John Candy in the late 1970s and early 1980s, with supporting roles that hinted at his potential. He appeared in Steven Spielberg's chaotic war comedy 1941, and then in The Blues Brothers 1980 as Burton Mercer, a small yet hilarious role. In 1981, he starred alongside Bill Murray in Stripes as a lovable, neurotic soldier. And in 1983's National Lampoon's Vacation, he played Lasky, the Wally World security guard delivering the crushing news of the park's closure. These roles, brief as some were, displayed Candy's unique ability to mix authority with empathy, qualities that only he could bring to the screen. In 1984's Splash, he portrayed Freddie, Tom Hanks's goofy brother, and reunited with Hanks in 1985's Volunteers. Though never the central figure in these films, Candy's presence was always memorable, marked by sincerity and a softness that made even the silliest characters feel real. The turning point in Candy's career came with his first leading role in a major studio film. He starred as Jack Chester, an exhausted air traffic controller who takes his family on a vacation to Florida that goes hilariously wrong. The premise was simple, but Candy's sheer likability made the character and the film resonate. Jack was a dad doing his best, worn down by life but never defeated. Audiences embraced this portrayal of John Candy as a leading man. That same year, he starred alongside Richard Pryor in a high-concept comedy about spending $30 million in 30 days to inherit $300 million. Candy's character, Spike Nolan, was Pryor's best friend and catcher, and their on-screen chemistry was genuine and warm, making their buddy film believable and heartfelt. In 1987, John Hughes wrote and directed Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, pairing Candy with Steve Martin in what seemed like a simple road trip comedy, but was much deeper. The film explored themes of loneliness, longing, and the emotional masks people wear to protect themselves. Candy's character, Del Griffith, was annoying and intrusive, but played with such vulnerability that audiences came to understand the man behind the quirks, a lonely soul with nowhere to go and no one waiting for him. Steve Martin later said that working with Candy on this film was one of the great joys of his career because John brought so much heart to the role that it elevated the entire movie. That same year, Mel Brooks cast Candy as Barf, a half-man, half-dog Morg in his Star Wars parody Spaceballs, a role Candy committed to fully, blending goofiness with sweetness and fun. The Great Outdoors, 1988. Another John Hughes script featured Candy as Chet Ripley, a good-hearted family man trying to enjoy a lakeside vacation, until his obnoxious brother-in-law, played by Dan Aykroyd, disrupts the trip. The famous scene where he eats an old steak is a classic example of physical comedy. But it's Chet's kindness and decency that make the film work. The following year, Uncle Buck cemented Candy's status as a household name. Uncle Buck was a slob, irresponsible and directionless. Yet beneath it all was a man with a huge heart who wanted to be needed. John Hughes wrote the role specifically for Candy, and every scene, from making pancakes to interrogating a niece's boyfriend, felt genuine and lived in. The film became a comfort movie for families. In 1989, Candy starred in Who's Harry Crumb, a broader, sillier mystery comedy where he played an inept private detective. Although the film was cartoonish, Candy's charm made it enjoyable. In 1990's Home Alone, Candy's role was brief, a cameo as Gus Polinski, the polka king of the Midwest, who gave Kate McAllister a ride home. Yet even in that short appearance, Candy's character shared a touching moment about his own son and regrets, serving as one of the emotional anchors of the film. This ability to make a small role memorable was a hallmark of Candy's career. He didn't need to carry an entire movie to make an impact. Only the Lonely, 1991, showcased Candy's most vulnerable performance to date. He played Danny Muldoon, a 38-year-old Chicago cop, living with his overbearing mother, played by Maureen O'Hara, struggling with shyness and loneliness. When he finally meets a woman he connects with, his fear and awkwardness resonate deeply. This was not a typical comedy, but a romantic film with comedic elements, and Candy's portrayal was both touching and authentic. Critics praised the film, and audiences connected with it, though it deserved greater commercial success. That same year, John also became a co-owner of the Toronto Argonauts football team, alongside Wayne Gretzky and Bruce McNall. He was actively involved, attending games and celebrating the team's 1991 Grey Cup victory, showing that football was more than a hobby. It was another community he cared deeply about. In Oliver Stone's JFK, 1991, Candy took a dramatic turn playing Dean Andrews, a New Orleans lawyer entangled in the JFK assassination conspiracy. This serious role showed Candy's range beyond comedy, and his performance was praised for its sincerity and depth. Among his final films was Cool Runnings, 1993, a Disney movie about the first Jamaican bobsled team. Candy played Irving "Irv" Blitzer, the disgraced former Olympic coach who helps train the team. The film was inspirational and funny, with Candy as its heart. A standout scene features him delivering a heartfelt speech about dignity, failure, and perseverance, transcending the typical family film formula. Many kids who grew up in the 1990s remember this movie fondly, Throughout his career, John Candy worked relentlessly, appearing in films like Armed and Dangerous, Little Shop of Horrors, The Rescuers Down Under, Once Upon a Crime, Rookie of the Year, and Canadian Bacon. He said yes to almost every role, regardless of the quality of the film. What remained constant was his dedication and energy. This dedication extended beyond the screen. Those who worked with him, from actors to directors to the crew, universally adored him. Steve Martin recalled how Candy would arrive early on set, learn everyone's name, and check in with them, not out of obligation, but because he genuinely cared. Dan Aykroyd, a longtime friend from Second City, called John the kindest man he ever knew, saying Candy would literally give you the shirt off his back and quietly help those in need without fanfare. Carl Reiner, who directed Candy in Summer Rental, attested to John's gift for making everyone feel valued, treating caterers and grips with the same respect as the director. This is rare in an industry often fueled by competition, insecurity, and self-importance. John Candy simply wanted those around him to be okay. His generosity and kindness created a sense of family on set, a rare atmosphere in Hollywood. Yet this kindness came with its burdens. Candy struggled with his weight his entire life, battling yo-yo dieting and constant pressure from the industry, the media, and himself. Roles were sometimes denied because of his appearance, and jokes at his expense, though often laughed off publicly, left wounds that close friends could see. Despite the challenges, Candy worked tirelessly, motivated not only by passion, but by his responsibility to support his wife, Jennifer, and their two children, Jennifer and Christopher. Friends urged him to rest and take care of himself, but he was driven by his love for his work and family. His final film was Wagons East, a Western comedy shot in Mexico in early 1994. On March 4th, after finishing filming and having dinner with friends, John returned to his hotel room in Durango and tragically never woke up. He suffered a fatal heart attack at just 43 years old. The film was completed using a body double and editing tricks, and released posthumously. Watching it today is bittersweet, revealing a man exhausted, working too hard, perhaps aware his time was limited. The reaction to John Candy's death was profound. Hollywood didn't just mourn the loss of a celebrity, they mourned the loss of a friend. Fans felt the loss deeply, grieving someone who had brought light and laughter into their lives. His funeral in Toronto was attended by hundreds, including close friends and fellow comedians like Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Rick Moranis, Martin Short, Eugene Levy, and Catherine O'Hara. Their presence was genuine and not for publicity, a testament to the love and respect Candy commanded. Only a handful of actors earn this kind of affection, not just for their talent, but for who they are as people. John Candy's place in this rare group, alongside the likes of Robin Williams and Keanu Reeves, is well-deserved. These figures share a remarkable quality. They are valued not only for their performances, but for their genuine kindness, generosity, and emotional openness. This kind of affection is not manufactured or simply a result of public relations. It's earned quietly over time, through small acts of decency, through showing up for others, remembering names, and caring about the people around them. John Candy embodied warmth and kindness without cynicism. He didn't just make people laugh, he made them feel good about being human. John Candy was far from perfect, and he wasn't a saint. He was a good man who tried his best, who cared deeply, and who likely gave more than he had to give. His premature passing left a void in the world that still feels immense. That is why John Candy was not just popular. He was truly treasured, and his legacy continues to live on. For all who knew him personally, and all who knew him through his work, John Candy remains a symbol of genuine warmth, generosity, and the kind of kindness that transcends the screen and touches hearts. His story reminds us that sometimes the greatest gift an entertainer can give is not just laughter, but the feeling of being understood and cared for. Thank you for watching this tribute to John Candy. If you appreciate content like this, your support means a lot. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Sharing your thoughts keeps the memory of remarkable people like John Candy alive and helps others discover the warmth and joy he brought to so many. As always, I look forward to seeing you in the next video, where we will continue exploring the lives and legacies of extraordinary individuals. Until then, keep the spirit of kindness and laughter alive.